Chapter 85. E-class hunters work in any guild, and the money they earn is pretty similar. This was because their main job was as a miner or collector. The contract method itself was a structure in which they received incentives as much as they worked. So in the end, in any guild, they could earn only as much money as they worked for. However, the reason why they want to enter a large guild as much as possible was because of safety. Mining team looks for mana stones inside the dungeon. Collection team dismantles the dead demons. But in front, no one knows how much the raid team could protect them. That was an important thing for the lowest level hunters. In that sense, Assistant Professor Lim was very flustered at first, but eventually signed the contract that Suho held out. It was natural. He had already seen Suho fight with shadow soldiers, and he had noticed right away that Suho was somehow different from other hunters. Besides, Suho was not a person who would use others as expendable items, unlike some large guilds. The offer is the highest among E-class, so I have to take it no matter what. After signing the contract, Assistant Professor Lim shook hands with Suho, who would become his guild leader in the future. Looking forward to working with you from now on, Suho. Use proper words. If that was me, I would have disciplined you myself. I mean, thank you, guild leader. Assistant Professor Lim hurriedly corrected his words. Suho smiled. Looking forward to working with you as well, Assistant Professor Lim. Rather, Brother Dokyoon. Then take care of it. Yes, sir. Yoo Jinho ordered his secretary to prepare to rent one of his buildings to Suho's guild. Originally, it was a building that was vacated to be demolished and remodeled. But if I make a new one, it'll take too long, right? Even if it's a bit shabby, just use it for the time being. Yes, thank you for that alone, uncle. All right, besides, you'll probably use it for a while, Yoo Jinho thought without saying it out loud. If Suho inherited his father's talent, it would be only a matter of time before he made money anyway. The important thing is not the building. It wasn't like they'd be getting more guild members anyway. Also, the idea was just right. For Suho, a vast shadow dungeon already existed beneath his feet. But Suho, Yoo Jinho looked at Suho's face seriously. All 3 guild members are gathered now and paperworks were well taken care of, so preparations are over. The most important thing is missing. What is it? Yoo Jinho's serious eyes brought a serious expression to Suho's face as well. Your qualifications? Qualifications? At that time, Suho's expression became more serious. Yoo Jinho was the only person who knew about Sung Jinwoo's strength. His eyes seemed to say so. Are you really qualified to lead the corps? Suho looked more serious than ever and waited for Yoo Jinho's next words. Yoo Jinho opened his mouth. That's right. Your qualifications. Hunters can only become guild leaders if they have cleared dungeons 20 times or more. Oh, is that so? Suho looked downcast and nodded his head. He was just a novice hunter who had only experienced a few field dungeons. It's going to be quite busy in the future. Before receiving the guild office from Yoo Jinho, it seemed that he had to resolve that first. You said you established a guild? Essel received an unexpected offer from Suho, who stopped by the shadow dungeon. Yeah, you're also a member of my guild. From now on, you will enter the dungeon with me. Me? I'm not even human? Is that possible? I came here because of that. Let's take a picture of you. I have to make an ID for you as a foreign worker. Foreign worker? Essel tilted her head with a puzzled expression. Come on, smile. Huh? Suho took a picture of Esel's face with his cell phone. Is it over? Yep, it's over. All I have to do is polish it with an app. Suho opened a photo editing app and corrected Esel's face to look as human as possible. It's fortunate that Essel looks quite human for a demon, no horns. Of course, there were some minor peculiarities, such as slightly sharper ears than humans, but those were matters that could be passed on as being due to a hunter's own skills. There are also hunters who turn into beasts, so this much is considered normal. However, among the hunters with extremely sensitive senses, there would be people who would notice that Essel was a non-human being. It's all right as long as they don't run into each other. But that was no problem either. After all, his guild will continue to be maintained, with only 3 members. What is this? I'm getting prettier. I hope this is my true self. Nope. Essel was beyond admiration, and was even moved by the highly developed human correction app. Even though Suho didn't do anything special, she benefited from the app's basic feature effect. Great, moderately exotic. A mixed-race foreign worker concept, so this should be enough. When Suho turned off his cell phone, Essel, who was looking at her photos with excitement next to him, licked her lips in regret. She looked at Suho with soft eyes. Suho, can I have something like this? You want a cell phone? In the future, you can earn money and buy it. Ah, are you giving me money too? Of course. Since you're a guild member now, you'll earn as much money as you hunted. Also, you should buy the meat you will eat with your money. I got it. Essel suddenly became motivated. By the way, I heard there is one more guild member? Who is that one? Someone strong? Suho pondered for a moment before opening his mouth. No, he is very weak. Huh? How weak? If you hit him, he could die, so you can't bother him. He's that bad? Essel was confused. The guild leader's qualification of clearing dungeons 20 times wasn't really great. Dungeons were springing up, and the hunters were wandering around like crazy, attacking those dungeons. It was to make money at some point, but at the same time, neglecting a dungeon would lead to a massive catastrophe. So, the role of the guild leader, leading the hunters, was important. If someone without dungeon experience led them, the talented people would die in vain, and that would lead to a major disaster. In order to fill the required number, Suho jumped into a dungeon raid with Lim Dokyoon and Essel. The only unfortunate thing was that his level did not increase well in the process. The difficulty of the dungeons is too low. It was unavoidable. The three-man raiding party of Suho, Essel, and Lim Dokyoon was too low to qualify for the dangerous dungeons. Because of that, all the dungeons they could enter were final dungeons or field dungeons that were almost finished. The level of the magic beasts in it was not enough for Suho to gain experience. But that was just for Suho. It was different for Lim Dokyoon. Essel, help me! You are really weak. Essel looked at Lim Dokyoon, who was hiding behind her, with sincere pity. Then, when she turned her gaze to the other side, there was a doggy that attacked the enemies with extremely brave eyes. Woof! The king of beasts, the Fang monarch, nods happily, saying that Gray is growing up dignifiedly today. Gray level 17. Fang Wolf. Apart from Suho leveling up, Gray was growing steadily. Well, Suho receives half of Gray's experience points. Pet. Gray offers 50% of its experience as a sacrifice to its owner. Even without the experience points from Blessing, other points were shared with Suho. In the long run, this was definitely an advantage. The stronger Gray gets, the more EXP will be shared when hunting. Our baby cub is great. Be diligent in the future and offer more sacrifices to young master. Beru uses skill harsh command. Skill. Harsh command increases Gray's stats by 50%. As a side effect of skill harsh command, Gray is cursed with madness. Under Beru's harsh command, Gray howled. All the monsters snorted and were bitten. No matter how small he is, Gray is a worthy successor of Raken. He was a predator that instinctively picked out only the weakness of his enemies and prey on them. The king of beasts, the Fang monarch, closes his eyes at Gray's cruelty. There were also male beasts. Section Chief Lee Youngho of the Hyunmu Guild has been very uneasy these days. It must have been from that day, to be exact. The day he came back after being savagely rejected by CEO Yoo Jinho of Agensoft. Let's see, I will definitely repay you someday. Lee Youngho inevitably held grudges. The Hyunmu Guild was not as good as the Baekho Guild or the Reaper Guild, but it was a large guild that was well known in Korea. However, Agensoft was also a conglomerate with enormous influence in the political and business world. First of all, each industry was different. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't come up with a suitable way to retaliate against CEO Yoo Jinho. If I had been a hunter like him, I'd have had plenty of ways to vent my anger. The simplest thing was to solve it with power. It was because hunters were allowed to kill in the dungeon. Obviously, it was illegal to kill openly, but there was no physical evidence for murder in the dungeon, so no one could be charged with the crime. Oh, I wonder what he is doing now. Given the circumstances, it was only natural for Lee Youngho's anger to pass on to Sung Suho. That bastard Sung Suho, find out what he's doing these days. From what I heard at the time, it seemed that CEO Yoo Jinho would set up a guild. Yes, that's right. Hurry up, man. Yes, I am entering now. A subordinate who was hit in the back of the head by Lee Youngho hurriedly accessed HunterNet. That employee was the one who flew the drone camera to Sung Suho's house that day. He ordered me to do it in the first place, but why is he only taking out his anger on me? Seriously. The employee who had been tracking the records of Sung Suho, gritting his teeth, suddenly stopped and looked back at Lee Youngho. Oh, Chief Sung Suho, that guy? Why, did you find anything? I guess they haven't created a guild yet because the conditions aren't met. It seems like he's going through dungeons these days to complete the requirements. Is that so? The moment he heard that, Chief Lee Youngho's eyes lit up. Find out which dungeon they would enter next.